This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you been struggling lately? Maybe you're having trouble sleeping, difficulty with the relationship, or just suffering from self-doubt. Now, y'all know there's no shame in my game, and life has been lifing lately. Trying to manage the priorities of being a wife, mom, friend, and full-time entrepreneur, it can get overwhelming. If this sounds like you, then BetterHelp wants to help you today. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Talk to a therapist in a private online environment at your convenience. There are over 20,000 therapists in BetterHelp's network, which gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. How cool is that? Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions. Plus, you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. You can also request a new therapist anytime at no additional charge. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced therapist from BetterHelp. There's a special offer to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast listeners. You get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/slang. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/slang, SLAYING. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast with Coach Felicia, where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. I am here with Tanerra Willis. Hey, Tanerra, how are you?
Hey.
I got that right. Look, I was like, even though I said it, I gotta make sure this PG County accent act right this morning.
Yes, and a very unique name. Do you know any other Tanerras?
I do not. I just found it's a lot of Felicias, but I've just found my first Felicia that's named, her name is, the only difference is with my first I is she has a Y, and that's like the closest I've ever got. Somebody else said that they know somebody whose name is spelled the same way, but I don't know. But yeah, no, you're the first Tanerra. And she comes by way yes, thank you. Thank you. She is joining us by way of Delaware, y'all. That's right over the state line for us. And so I just welcome to the show. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast and signing up. So y'all remember some episodes ago, I told y'all that I took another big leap of faith and just put myself out there on Threads, and Tanerra was one of the people that said, sign me up, and she was ready. Okay, I told y'all, stay ready so you don't have to get ready, and she was ready. She ain't have to come back. So welcome to the show. I'm going to let you get started. I'm going to ask you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
All right. It's on me?
Yeah, it's on
That's
you,
my
girl.
cue?
Yeah.
Awesome. So first I have to start off. I do live in Delaware, but I'm from Chester, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
We don't play that from our hometown. We don't say we from Philly. We from right outside of Philly. I'm from a small city in Chester, in Pennsylvania called Chester, and it's full of dope and amazing people. So we always want to make sure we shout out my Chester girls.
Yeah, see?
It's if you know kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, so I am I always say a little Black girl, but I'm 45 years old, so I should probably stop saying that. But I think I'm still that little Black girl at heart that came from the inner city projects that had to overcome an astronomical amount of things, but I'm very resilient, thanks be unto God. I am an overcomer. I've faced so many challenges from, growing up in poverty, around all types of drug dealers and guns and violence and teenage mom and hustling father.
Yeah.
Poor school system, all that stuff that seems to be, plaguing a lot of urban Black people. But fast forward, I've been able to accomplish a lot. I'm a certified pediatric registered nurse by trade and a CPR instructor. I am also an author. I am also an entrepreneur. So I'm just here just trying to use my platform, my social media, my website, and my business to help people grow. I tell people I'm your partner in growth. I want to make sure people that look like me know that they can make it out, make it up, and stay up. So that's
Yes.
part of what I am. My catchphrase is to be amazing and letting everybody know that everybody's amazing. So we all have something amazing in us. We're not meant to be carbon copies of anyone else, but be the best versions of ourselves.
I love that. I love. First of all, I can already tell by your energy. We gonna be if y'all ain't uplifted by listening to her, then you ain't listening. Okay.
Oh,
So
thank you.
I appreciate the energy early in the morning, and I definitely understand repping where you are from, which is the reason why when it's like you say, if you know, you have to say Prince George's County because oftentimes if I say Maryland, the first thing that people think of is Baltimore, and we are
Right.
same, okay? So you got to say PG County, and if you know, you know. So I
If you
understand
know,
that for
you know.
your Chester, Pennsylvania, we here, okay? We understand it
Yeah.
completely. So I wanted to talk a little bit. The interesting part you said by trade you are a pediatric nurse, and in addition to that, I know that you are a children's author, and the basis of your business is to empower women and girls. Do you believe, or do you know, or is it, we're going to ask that question, like, is there a correlation between your trade and what you did, or like, did that come up before that? Like, was the empowering before the pediatric nurse, or through the pediatric nursing, did you want to empower women and girls?
So actually, I'd never been asked that before, so I appreciate this question. I do think there's a correlation, but I don't think it's because of.
Okay.
So I think at heart, I've always been nurturing. I'm the oldest child, and that most older kids are the nurturers and are
Come
the
on, sis.
providers and
Come
are the
on, sis.
givers and rare. So I think that's part of my genetic makeup and my lineage.
Agreed.
My family came from a lot of strong women who didn't know anything but to do, but make it happen, figure it
Mm-hmm.
out. We are problem solvers, conflict resolutions, make it happeners. We don't sit around and cry and weep and things like that. Not there's anything wrong with it,
Correct.
but we
Yeah.
just came from the background where my grandmother, my great grandmother figured it out, made it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to morph that, right? Use some of those strengths that they implanted in me, but also be more realistic to where we are, because we don't have to be as hardened. We don't have to lack emotion. We can be emotionally vulnerable, but we can
Yeah.
still thrive. We can still be resilient. We can still be overcomers. So I think I would just always remember, for some reason, I always envisioned myself walking. I used to walk everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
To school, to stores, to friends' houses. I walked everywhere I lived, and I've lived in so many states. And I always would be thinking, excuse me, and I was always thinking about my future. I remember just being young, second
Mm-hmm.
grade, what I was going to be. And I was always going to be something that nurtured people. I was always going to be something that educated people. I was always going to be something that provided for others, gave access to others, and helped the underdog.
Yeah.
Underdog. So to me, both my nursing does that, as well as my small business and just who I am overall as a person.
Yeah, I love that. I always ask those because oftentimes when people are telling their story, they don't realize where the correlation comes in, right?
Hmm.
Like I
Hmm.
always say that this was never a me thing, right? This
Hmm.
slave self doubt is a God thing, and it took me a very long time to see the seeds that had been planted prior to
Hmm.
it's actually becoming a thing. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess if I think back to then, this makes total sense, right?
Yes.
Or it didn't make it like it. I didn't understand the correlation. But then there's some people who knew this is the path that they were going to go in, and it was definitely going to be that. So through your both sides, both the nursing and the entrepreneur side, how has self-doubt showed up in your journey?
Every day.
Keep it real. Keep
Oh,
it real.
yeah, yeah. Although I hate to say pride, because they say pride is a negative thing, but I do. I pride myself on being someone who's very confident. But
Mm-hmm.
there's always little things that are nipping at you or show up and make you question certain things. I am how do I say? I always say I'm a serial, not inventor, but I can always create something to
Uh-huh.
do and how to do it, and I have idea diarrhea. So with that in
That was the
mind,
first. I've never
yeah,
heard
because
it.
it's just always there's always an idea. Someone can share
Yeah.
something with me, and I have a resolution or idea, or oh, I can tell you how to do that, even when
Okay.
I can't.
Okay.
But there's at least an idea.
Right.
But hold on, because now I'm losing track of your question. Oh, self doubt. How
Right,
did
right,
self
right, right,
doubt
right.
come
No,
from? Yeah,
listen, I'm like, when you said it, I was like, man, I know a lot of people who have idea diarrhea as well. Like,
yeah.
I just would
And
have
it can be
never
good
thought of
and
it.
bad, right? Because you want to be
Absolutely.
focused and streamlined. You want to always finish what you started. You don't want to jump from one thing to another. And you don't want to be, what is it? What's that phrase where they say, what is it? Like you could do a lot of things, but you're a master of nothing.
Oh
So you
yeah,
don't want to,
yeah. What is it? The jack of trades with a master
yeah,
of none,
jack of
something
all
like that.
trades, but a master of
Yeah,
none. So
yeah, yeah,
that's definitely not what we're going
yeah.
for, right? That's
Correct,
not
correct.
being amazing. So I'm always having to hone myself in and write things down and
Yeah,
case things for later or give it to somebody else because
right.
everything that you is given is not for yourself.
Amen.
So with that in mind, because for some reason I think I could do so many things. Sometimes when you start to go through challenges, when you learn that just because you have the idea doesn't mean you always have the tools,
Yeah,
it starts to nip at you because you're like, this is amazing. It's going to help people.
yeah.
It's positive. It's this is that. When things don't go smoothly or when things fail or when things aren't as receptive, people aren't supporting you, start to question yourself. So I think in that way it shows up a lot. Sometimes it also shows up because I don't have a lot of models of other people doing the big things that either I've
Mm.
envisioned or I've accomplished. So a lot
Wow.
of things I'm doing for the first time.
Yeah,
So when
yeah.
you've never seen it before, are you capable? Are you worthy? Is it for me? Can I do it? That kind of it shows up that way sometimes as well.
That is good. That is good. I don't even think about it. Saying that is like oftentimes, especially on this show, right? I'm talking to a lot of women who are doing things for the first time, right?
Right.
And we are breaking generational curses, barriers, all of those things, ceiling, cement, glass, oh, everything. We breaking everything. We just kicking the doors,
Amen.
windows, and everything down. And like you said, like not necessarily having that example will cause some doubt and some fear and some insecurity
Hmm.
of whether or not it can be done because you've never seen it.
Right.
And I think that's what makes us so amazing, because what makes this series so amazing for me is that I get to talk to all the women who are doing it first, right? And
Yeah, we are the
so
blueprint for our
yes,
families and for the
yes.
future.
Yes, I love that. So, what do you do practically? Because even we talk about self-doubt and we talk about the fact that this thing is going to be here regardless. What do you do practically that helps you in those moments when you are feeling when that feeling comes up of like, Tanerra, this you the first person that's doing this. You can't whatever,
Hmm.
we know what that negative self-talk is that we're doing to ourselves in that moment. How do you be like, girl, not today? How do we
Yeah.
reverse it?
So that's exactly it. Positive self-talk, right? You have to affirm yourself. I am strong in my faith, so I have to spend some time listening to gospel music, reading the Bible, quoting
Yes.
scriptures,
Mm-hmm.
saying things that I may not necessarily feel, but I believe and I'm confessing in my life, and
Yeah.
just stop telling yourself because I have whatever I can't even describe what that is. I always have to tell myself you putting too many expectations on yourself. And my husband said this
Mm.
to me a couple years ago, and I didn't even realize I did that. He was like, you put more expectations on you than other people do. I'm
Yeah.
hosting this event right now, and I'm trying to do 50,000 things, and no one is even expecting those things. But amongst it, because when you talk about self-doubt, some of those things aren't working out the way I wanted them to work out. But why do I even have to have them when no one is even
Correct.
expecting them? So now I'm
Yeah.
putting all this pressure and stress in my life that's not even required. So that's one of the things I have to pull myself back because I want everything that I do to be amazing.
Yeah.
But my amazing is probably far greater than what other people are even expecting.
Yeah.
So harnessing all of my idea diarrhea and my things I want to provide for people, because when I provide an experience, I don't want the experience just to be meaningful to me. I'm thinking about the audience. Who's going to
Yeah.
be here? What do they need? What are they going to find value? And so I am doing things like that to kind of just make sure. So sometimes that kind of overwhelms me. So
Yeah.
definitely harnessing and my self expectations, affirming myself, spending time with God, and also tapping in some resources. Women, we're doing way too much by ourselves. You
Yes,
talked about
ma'am.
being the first because we think we're the first, we think nobody can help us, but that's
Yeah.
not true. And
Yeah.
a lot of times we're looking for the usual suspects to help us. And
Yeah.
we need to reach out. And just like you said for your podcast, most of the women you probably had on your podcast are people you don't know. So it's not the usual suspects. When we
Yep.
think it's only our inner circle, it's only our family, it's only our coworkers who can help us, when it's 300 people in the United States, 300 million people in the United States. So stop, buttonholing yourself,
Yeah. No,
pigeonholing yourself. Excuse me.
this two things that you said that resonated with me was the self expectations that we put on ourselves, and they're unrealistic. Like, no one wants to say it, right? But I'll be the first, right? At the end of 2023, I remember God telling me that this was my season of release. So it was my birthday. And I was just like, I don't even know release what. Like, to me, I
Yeah.
felt like I wasn't holding on to anything. And the word that came up was expectations, right? Like,
Mm.
you think something's supposed to look like something, but like you said, don't nobody know. They nobody's going to even know, right? They're never, that meme that's going around, like they'll
Yes, I'm
never even
hearing it
know,
right now while you're
right?
saying
Yeah,
it.
nobody's going to know. Like,
Nobody's
no
going to
one
know.
knows what you are creating, right? So
And
they
you're creating inner turmoil that's not even
Exactly.
necessary.
And you're stressing yourself out about creating something that nobody's ever seen before. So they don't even have anything to compare it to. But you're comparing it to what you see on other people's highlight reels in this, and you don't know their story behind it. You don't know whatever. Recently I did a woman's retreat, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have that. And it took me a few times to, like, where I was like all the way up here, like where I was like, this is what we go. And I was just like, girl, you don't have the capacity to do that. Like, that was literally the conversation. Like, I looked in the mirror, it's like, you don't have the capacity to do that. You don't have the finances to do that. And at the end of the day, it's other stuff happening that weekend. It's not your retreat. You are a guest. Like, just do your hour and mind your business. Like that. Sometimes I
That
literally have to say,
girl.
mind your business. And so I was like, the things that you need to do, bring that. Everything else, let God do the rest, right? Like,
Yeah.
you just show up in your capacity. One of the scriptures that I always stand on, since I've been doing Slaves Have Doubt, is Judges 6:14. Go with the strength you have, I'm sending you. I can only go with
Mm.
what I got. The rest is up to him. And so I went and I was like, I was going to purchase some stuff. And I said, you know what? I already got some stuff in the house. I'm going to use the stuff I already got. Either they want it or they don't. Otherwise, I'm just, guess where it's going? Back in the house, versus
Yeah.
purchasing some other things and adding that to the stuff that I already have. Could I have done a couple of different things differently, like later on? I could have, but right now, I just need to focus on the
Work with
assignment
what
that
you
was given to
have.
me, right? The assignment was the presentation. Here I am
Mm-hmm.
worrying about the
Mm-hmm.
experience. I think
Mm-hmm.
that we have to worry about the assignment. The experience
There
will
we go.
come, right? When whatever, because you're doing the assignment, there will be an experience. And that's all that really matters,
Amen.
right? And so that was a word for me right there. Okay. Thank you, Holy Spirit. That came, I promise you, in these moments, I'll be like,
And
oh.
I need that in this space that I'm in right now. So I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you, Holy
listen, see
Spirit.
that he be knowing, like, he be gathering me in these interviews as well. And then the second thing that you said was about asking for help, right? We think we have to do all, be all, think all those things, and then we're the ones who's tired. We're the ones who are
Mm-hmm.
having, I'm gonna keep it real. High blood pressure, high cholesterol,
Mm-hmm.
all of these health issues, and
Mm-hmm.
like, you're seeing it, and it's coming from stress. The stress that we
Yes.
put on ourselves, thinking that we got to be superwoman. I don't want it. I don't. Let me
Yeah.
take this S off my chest, okay? Like, I didn't
Amen.
ask for it.
Yes.
I didn't ask for it. I didn't want it. But what we do is, in all the relationships, we feel like we have to be the person for that person, and in your business, you feel like it has to be like this off the break, and as opposed to just allowing things to be as they, kind of gradually go. And like I said, even when I did you're right. Every person that's been, like, in the beginning, the people that were on my show were people that I knew, like, I felt
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. But I've been doing this for 5 years, right? I want to be
Yes.
able to give other women the platform. The only way they're gonna know is if I ask, right? I think it was
Mm-hmm.
what, an episode of Married with Children was like, if you build it, they will come. That's how I felt. I was like, all you gotta do is ask the
Your
question.
sound went out on my end.
Oh, can you hear me?
There it is. You
Oh,
bet.
what I said was is that and I think it was Married with Children. They say if you build it, it will come, right? And so
Hmm.
I was just like, all you gotta do is ask, and either people are going to. I gave people the space to make the appointment and to schedule their podcast, and that was all I could do. The rest of it was up to the assignment was to put it out there. The whatever was going to happen, I had to trust God with
That's
the
right.
outcome, right? And so
Woo.
I appreciate that part of you sharing that as far as like practical tips, because I think sometimes we think we just supposed to say like let self-doubt go away. Sometimes they
Hmm.
don't. Sometimes you're just gonna stay
Hmm.
there, but you got to work through it, right?
And
Even
doing it afraid and keep it moving.
doing it afraid. That's what we
Hmm.
that's why I say, girl, come
This
on
is
now.
where it's
Like
driving me as crazy. Crazy.
it's all right. It's all right. So what have you learned about yourself doing this journey that you didn't know before?
Oh wow. Maybe that I'm more courageous than I ever known.
Mm,
Um, in my current space that I am, I'm doing a lot of just showing up in spite of. I've had a lot of doors shut. I heard a lot of no's. I've had a lot of, I'm not even sure how this is going to happen. And like you said, just still walking in faith, still moving forward, putting something great out there and just
yeah.
presenting it well. And it's been widely accepted. Um, Things I was never comfortable public speaking. I was never
Mm,
comfortable selling. I was never comfortable um even writing a book. I had never wrote a book before. I didn't know. I always envisioned it, but never knew how to do it. And just putting stuff out there, things that people have never seen before or done before, or, or like I said, not even knowing how to do it. So just a lot more courageous than I
yeah.
remember being. Just willing to take a risk on me.
Yeah, I love that. That is a very, you think about it. When people say, I've had many people say many different things, but I think courageous was the first thing the first time I've heard a guest say that that's how they feel, and that's a very powerful word, right? Like
Hmm.
that is taking your ownership back, your power back, even in the midst of us talking about self-doubt, right? Being courageous, that's the other side of it, is having the courage to do it, even when you don't know, right? And
Hmm.
and the my pastor it did a sermon one time, and he said trust God with the outcome of your obedience, right? And
Hmm.
I always remember that quote, like if God is asking me to do it, and I know for me, there's a prompting, it's something, it is annoying, it's like a gnat. And like I just know when he's saying go. And I have to just say, I just gotta trust him with and sometimes it is far greater than what I thought. Sometimes it's just a little
You
like,
can do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or
yeah,
think.
absolutely. And sometimes it doesn't, the result isn't what I wanted, but sometimes it's like God is just asking, will you do it? Right? Will you just do
Hmm.
this thing? Even if it doesn't, like we is again our expectation, right? The
Hmm.
expectation is going to be like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever, right? And then
Hmm.
some of it is like, no, I just need you to practice this in this
And
space.
I was gonna say, and sometimes when we think about obedience is better than sacrifice, sometimes we're sacrificing what we want to get,
Mm-hmm.
but we're getting what we need when we're being obedient. And like you said,
Absolutely.
you may not even be ready for that level 10. You might only be ready for level 2 or level 5,
Yes,
but
yes.
God needs to see you be obedient in 2 and 5 before he can give you 10, because he don't want to give you
Amen.
10 and you can't keep it, you
Right.
can't
And you
handle
you
it.
fumble in the bag. You like, what
Yeah,
else am
you
I
can't carry that
doing?
weight yet.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because when you get to level 10, it's going to be so many people under you that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to be
Mm-hmm.
responsible for that he got to
Yes.
make sure you're ready to handle that. So I think that's something I've been, learning right now too, because I've been doing a lot of, speaking engagements and author events. And, sometimes you're expecting these big audiences. It's like, okay, but this time I only got 30 people and this time I only
Yeah.
got 100 people.
Yeah.
But if I'm making an impact and I'm handling them people well, because all of these people are God's people and he don't play about his people.
Amen.
Before he give you the thousands, he want to make sure, you know what I mean, at level 2 and 5, you're going to do what you're supposed to do.
Man, I
So that's something I
listen.
keep in mind.
That's what I tell you. I always tell people, and I promise you, I say this on every episode. The Lord knows what I need to hear in these interviews, right? Like that is a word. It literally just made me remember when God told me to do this workshop. This was like 2 years ago, and I was just like, it was in the shower, and I was like, what? Like this doesn't even make no sense. And so I did it. I created the whole thing, and I was just like, I don't even know who I'm talking to. I don't know, but I'm gonna just do the thing. I did it the one time. I think like three or four people showed up, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I got in the way, right? And I was like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to be doing this monthly. I guess I'm supposed to be doing, and here I go,
Wow.
just adding. And then month of the month, nothing happened. Nothing happened. And then I stopped. And I was like, I don't even understand why he asked me to do that. And then
Mm-hmm.
thinking now, right, to what you just said, this year I've already done two different facilitated workshops, right?
Wow.
In front of crowds, and the crowd just keeps growing. But he needed,
Mm-hmm.
because you even create a workshop to be able to do, like, would you even do that in front of two people, right? And
Yeah.
so to your point, if he can't trust you with the two, why would he trust you with the 10, right? And
And
so
we give each other ourselves titles before we've earned them.
where is the
Because it's so easy to put something in big font and colorful paper and start putting it out there, but you ain't even, you ain't earned that yet. You don't got
yes,
receipts
oh
yet.
hell, okay, you told somebody up. I'm telling you, somebody heard that in their car, was like,
Well,
she
and
gave
this
it to
and these are things I'm learning too, because a lot of time what I've learned a couple years ago, and it almost made me cry. We give people what we need.
me. Mm-hmm.
And like you said, my sister and I were planning a retreat together, but when we got to doing our plan, we were planning two different retreats. But what I had to learn, instead of being offended and frustrated, she's giving what she needs and I'm giving what I need.
Yes, and those, and you don't recognize that, right? Like, when you're in it, you are. For a very long time, I kept saying, I don't know who my ideal client is, and like, it just didn't make sense. And then I realized it's me.
It's definitely
It
me.
was me from 5 years ago, right? It was the me.
Mhm.
So then I had to say, like, it's not this year, Felicia. It's Felicia from 6 years ago. So what did you need at that time? Like, you created the thing, and thank God, God gave you those things to be able to get here. But back then, when you was trying to figure out, like, Lord, what is this? Where you get having me at? Where you going? What did I need to hear during that space? And I think that, obviously, we got to move out the way to be able to do the work that He has called us to do. And I think that you just have to be able to be open and know that, I used to tell my staff all the time, the only thing that's constant is change, right? And that
Mhm.
is the same thing in your business and your life. And whatever it looks like today, tomorrow, I guarantee you, it's probably going to look a little different. It ain't going to be exactly the same. And so I have to be open and be able to receive whatever it is that God wants me to do, but also release the things that He say that no longer serves me. I don't want to do. I don't want you to do. We hold on to stuff too, like, this has been working in my business, or I want it to work so bad, I'm gonna just keep putting all my efforts. And He like, girl, I got this over here. If you don't let that go, so
Yeah.
we can get
Get
to
out that
this.
comfort
Oh,
zone.
right. Yeah. So you spoke about being an author, and so I want to get into the amazing corner and what you do and how your. So, did you start out being an author, or were you a coach and empowering women before the?
Yeah.
I was going to say authorization, and that is not it. Before becoming an author, child,
Off the rest.
authoress. Okay.
So I've always done workshops. I've always done mentoring. I've had several church groups. I used to do a mentorship in my church group. I did a mentorship in my inner city.
Okay.
I've always wanted to mentor young girls, like you said, that look like me and who had similar
Mm-hmm.
experience I had when I was in there at their age. So I've always done that. I was working as a pediatric nurse, and I had a little boy, and he was telling me this super imaginative, action-packed story. And I'm like, this is a book. Like, it was like so much detail, so much creativity, and it was just going and going and going. And so I decided, like, we need to write that down. And he was 7 at the time, and I always like to show people the journey, because start with what you have.
Oh,
We literally ran from the bathroom. I was washing his hair, and we found his journal, and we wrote his story in his journal. And
that's
then
so.
I had him tell me, what does it look like? What is it? So we used these very same things to work with our very first illustrator, and we came up with this book.
Wow.
And we sold over 600 copies of that. It was starting with what we had. We didn't really know what we were doing, but then now we merged it to here. So I always like to show the progression,
Yes.
because we started very, very generic, nothing fancy, no skills,
Yes.
no tools, and we did well. And now we sold thousands of books, and we had the book in 4 different versions.
I was going to
Um,
say, is that Spanish? Like I was looking
Yes,
at
and
it.
my baby boy translated this himself in Spanish.
Yes.
He's been in Spanish immersion since pre-K. He's in 7th grade now. And during COVID, before they figured out what to do with the kids for school, I had him translate 1 page a day, and then we had his teachers edit
I
it for us.
love it.
Um, so that's what started me. I started out wanting to empower my little
First of
black
all,
boy.
his name is on there too, right?
Absolutely. So
Yeah, I
he
saw
is
at
the
the bottom. I
yeah.
that part, that okay, so even that part that just even in that moment, like taking that was affirming him right in that moment, right? That was something that he could do, giving him the tools. And oftentimes, even with kids, we just like, yeah, 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 and you could have easily just moved on with your life and taken
Mhm.
the next patient, and that would have been the end of that. But you changed that boy's life just by having him go write it down. That is so dope, right?
Yeah,
Right
we've
there.
honestly changed each other life. So at this time, we live in the suburbs, primarily white neighborhood. He wanted his superhero to be a white little boy with blue hair and blue eyes. I mean, with blonde hair and blue eyes. And no, he gonna look like you. He want to
Yeah.
have kinky, curly curls like
Yes.
you. So
Yes.
we, of course, made him the superhero. And at this point, like just this week, we just spoke at a Newark Free Library. Well, they asked for him, and I'm just literally as his assistant.
Right.
But he's get to inspire all these other youths and stuff. And he's you asked how I got started. So he inspired my business.
Yes.
I wanted to show him that he could do amazing things, being his color, his age, and the things that he loved. He's into soccer and he's into swimming. So we made sure that is highlighted in the book. Um,
Yes.
so
I
that's
love
how I
that.
started my journey. But I remembered that you wanted to be an author too, Miss. You've always had books and stuff in mind, and then since then I was able to publish one book, and then I'm a contributing author in another book, and I have two more
Wow.
books in the in the works. But yeah, so remembering my initial goal was to inspire him, but he's inspired me, and now 4 years later, 4 years later, it's a full-fledged business and
That
growing and
is
helping
so
other
dope.
people.
And I'm about to I'm messing myself up because I know that's what you say. And then it literally just hit me that you're talking about your son.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I thought you when you said it, like I'm thinking it was a patient. Then I saw the name. I'm like, wait a minute, that's the same last name. I was like, no, this
Oh
is
no,
that.
that's my baby.
Yes, I was like, this is a whole family business. So let me back that all the way up, mom, for empowering him and like affirming his idea right in that moment, right? Like I'm literally thinking you're talking about just some random patient that you are dealing with at that moment that you change their lives completely. But this is you pouring into your son and being able to affirm, like I said, affirm him in that moment and give him something that's legacy work right there, right?
Amen.
That's
And look,
legacy work.
he texted me now in school talking about Roblox.
Child, now
Distracted me.
listen, right. Listen, that's how they be. Child, that's a whole
In
nother
school,
conversation.
why is this even an option?
See, that's why I say it's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother thing, right? But yes, I love that, and I love the fact that you said in empowering him and doing this for him, you remembered what you wanted to do, right? It brought something out of you, and I always say that a part of my journey, even with self doubt, was recognizing that I've always had some type of anxiety or something. I didn't, before, we 80s
You
babies.
didn't
They
have
ain't putting
title
it, we
for
didn't
it.
have no
Yeah.
titles, no names for it. You just know you felt a certain type of way. And I didn't recognize it until I saw it in my oldest son. And it like frustrated me, like, what's going on? And in that moment, God was like, baby, that's you. Like,
Mhm.
and I was just like, now wait a minute, who? What? Listen, we at Disney World. Why are you gathering me in this line, right?
Yeah,
But it was
I start watering,
yes, like you
had a
like
revelation moment.
hold on, what is going on? But it was really like a part of I know deep down inside a part of slaying self doubt is me doing the things that I need to do to show my kids yeah, this may be something that you deal with. You may have some anxiety. You may feel doubtful, procrastinate, whatever those things are. But how we manage that, right? And so every day which is the reason why I say it's so personal to me, because every time you see me, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's through the podcast, anything with my kids, speaking engagements, whatever the case may be, because self doubt shows up in every area of your life.
Yes.
It's personal to me because it is me, right? And so
Yes.
having the difficult conversations, having the nervousness of, um, both of my kids are teens. We're in a different season, and all of those conversations is different. I don't want to hear the answer, but I gotta ask questions anyway. All of that stuff. And so I'm like, that's a self doubt moment too, because I just rather be
Hmm.
like, cover my eyes. It ain't really
Right.
happening. But no, we have to be open and honest. So,
And thank
but
God for that, because our parents weren't equipped to do that, right?
child,
So
no.
I'm glad you said it, because I noticed that in my son, some of my fears that I see showing up with him used to make me angry. So I
Yes,
would
yes.
react out of anger, like,
Hmm.
and I had to, like you said, that's you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now thank God you're equipped enough to help him through that. You don't have to get frustrated with him, but you can show him how to navigate that. So that's a
Yeah,
blessing.
that is a blessing. So, okay, so you have the children's books, you have the books that you are writing as well. You say you do mentoring workshops. So if somebody wanted to work with you, if they wanted to purchase your books, how would they get connected to you? How they find you, girl, so they can get your books and the baby books? Okay.
Yeah, I would say the is how where you can purchase any of our books. And then I founded a catalog. So if you want to say if you wanted some
Oh, nice.
if you're a self-published author and you have a book that is family friendly, something that's uplifting, powerful, meaningful, um, I would love you guys to apply. So you can go to my Instagram, The Amazing Corner, and look into my bio. There's an application for authors, and they can apply to be a part of our author catalog. We're accepting authors for a limited amount of time. So I use the Amazing Author catalog to help move us forward, to help.
Yes.
I'm your partner in growth. So we do a traveling book fair, online book fairs. We go to schools and youth-based organizations, family organizations, vending events, fairs, and we present our book catalog. And I help self-published authors sell their book. I help people who want to publish, who haven't published, do first steps to self-publishing. So you can find all that out on amazingcorner.com or through my Instagram, The Amazing
Okay, so
Corner.
I just want you to know you slid right past that book fair thing, right? Right? Like you said it like, oh yeah, we do like,
Look, let
ma'am,
me show y'all some pages.
ma'am, I'm like that's a big deal. You're literally out here creating space for people
Amen.
of color to be able to share their books and have a space for us, right? Like that
Yes.
a huge thing. And you think about all the book fairs that happen. What's the name of that company? Scholastic.
Scholastic.
Yeah, I could shout. I ain't done a book fair in about 37 years. Okay. But and you think about that in one.
And
So
they don't let us in.
yeah, and like being able to partner with like schools and church and stuff like that, that is so
Yes.
dope. That is
So
such
come
a
on over. It's room for
yeah,
you.
that is such a great idea. I was gonna ask you, what does your shirt say? I've been trying to read it, but
It says potential to stack bells. So this
oh,
is
okay.
something I did last year. For my family, is really big. We're really big on financial literacy, financial legacy,
Yes.
and not building debt. I can shout out that we paid off our mortgage this year in 8 years, so we're debt free. All of our cars are paid for, our pool's paid for.
Come
Um,
on.
yeah, my son is into investing in stock. So we did something last year where we wanted to encourage other people to reduce debt and build financial freedom. So this was a part of that. It was something we did for like a month. Kind of, we gave out tips. We did workshops and IG lives and things like that. And my husband has a business called Wealth is a Journey, where he helps people get out of debt and build financial freedom.
Man, that is because even though at the beginning of this, we were talking about doing all the things, right? And then sometimes you could do, but you literally just added two more things at the end of this conversation. And I was like, these are two podcasts.
Yeah. So
This
next
is
year when we start booking again, next year
right.
we'll
I'm
come
like,
back
this
and
is a
share
whole
some
nother
more.
conversation right here.
Yes.
Like, just the whole thing. But no, that is so dope. Like, I really like what you are doing is making an impact. And
Thank you.
I want you to give you your flowers right now. You making an
Thank
impact in
you.
your family and your community. And I want you to keep slaying, sis. Okay. Like
Thank
that is
you.
literally what this platform is about, right? Because there is someone listening to this right now who is probably wanting to write a book, right? And so, oh, I was going to ask that before we so in the wanting to write a book, someone who is like, I got a book in me, I know. What is some advice you can give them to just start? Like, what are some things that they should be doing to just, it's easy to say, girl, just write, put pen to paper.
Mhm.
But what are some practical tips you can tell some of our listeners who want to do it, but their self-doubt is showing up, procrastination is showing up, all of the things. Yeah, give them
So
some.
first, I would say affirm yourself every single day. Write it on your mirror, write it on your computer, put it on your phone, your screensaver. Someone needs what I have because we all have
Mm,
a story. So we have to remind ourselves daily. Someone needs what I have, and
mm,
when you tell yourself that every day, it's going to move you closer to making sure you produce that so you can give it out to the world. God gave us all gifts, and it's selfish of us to keep it to ourselves.
amen.
So we have our testimony is not for ourselves. That test was for us to overcome it and help empower other people and show God's grace and favor in the world. So I
Yeah.
would say that first. But definitely, like you said, people say just write it. I would say get a mentor. You need someone that's going to hold you accountable, who's going to check in with you, who's going to help you get from idea to execution, who's
Yeah.
going to take you step to step to step and make you feel empowered, give you that can-do energy. So that's what
Yeah.
my goal is for people, is to be a partner in growth. It's not to tell you that it's not hard. It's not to tell you there's not going to be challenges. It's not to tell you that you're going to feel lonely and isolated and unsupported at the time. All of those things are going to happen.
Yeah.
But in spite of all of that, you can do it. So I would definitely say to get a mentor. If you need me, reach out to me at amazingcorner.com. And just making sure that you are surrounding yourself with the things that you need. So
Mm.
stop scrolling on social media for 2-3 hours, just
Ooh.
being entertained and be educated. So I would go through your social media and clean that up and
Mm.
make sure you are following. Find 30 people that are doing what you want to do or who have what you need. So make sure your feed, because whatever we consume is
Yeah.
who we
Oh.
become. So start to just so for me, it's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I'm going to get my nails done, when I'm going to get my hair done, when I'm driving to a book fair, when I'm dropping off deliveries or bulk orders, I'm putting on Myron Goldman. I'm putting on what is sleep what is it, Sleep is for Suckers. I'm putting on different podcasters who are implanting in me what I need. And
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes it's church, it's Sarah Jakes Roberts, is my pastor,
That's my girl.
Jerome Lewis. So just making sure you immerse yourself in what you need,
Yeah.
because then you'll start to regurgitate it.
Yeah, that is that. No, y'all, for real, that's a very good advice, regardless of what you're doing. Right? I had this conversation with my kids recently, like being mindful of what you're listening to. I know y'all getting older and y'all listen to this. They always be like, "Didn't you used to listen to Ice Cube and listen to Snoop Dogg?" And I'm like, "That's not the point. The point is," I was like, "It's different, right?" I be trying to tell them it's different, but I'm like, be mindful of what you are was getting poured into you, because it has to come out some way, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't, whether
And
it's
you
out
want to
your
make
mouth.
sure you're not spending more time being entertained than being enriched.
Yes, absolutely. And there's going to be some type of imbalance if all you're doing is just taking in, and depending on what you're taking in, if it's not healthy for you, if it's not positive, if it's not inspirational, like, you got to have some type of balance is what I'm gonna say. Right, ratchet and righteous I'm over here both, okay? Because
Same.
listen, yeah, Glow, all right. uh, it's a mixture over here, right? Tanerra, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for sharing. Again, like I say, I want to give you your flowers now. Thank you for
Thank
helping
you.
people be amazing, making an
Amen.
impact in your community, in your household, in schools and churches, and wherever you are going, you are making an impact. And I can't wait
Thank you.
to follow your journey and to see where you where this ends up, where your sons end up, all of that. And I look forward to talking to you again, because I believe we're gonna have more to talk about this.
Love it. Thank you. Thanks for
You
having me. I thank God for the opportunity.
you are so welcome. All right, y'all. Until next time, see ya. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.